My new TF46 is due in today. Let's see how it goes. Is the truck coming yet? No, truck's not coming yet. Is the truck coming yet? No, not yet. Soon. Here's the packaging. If I remember right, 2 years ago, my first chipper, my WC46, wasn't packaged this nice. So I think they've done better. And there's the twin flywheels. The big disc cuts and the one in back throws. It moves pretty easy with just my hand on the PTO shaft. So this is the exploded view. Once you get everything unwrapped, that's about a 15-minute project. Get all the plastic off. And all the bolts, and hopefully with this one, we don't need this anymore. That's my wrench, and I'll talk about that later. I'm going to go ahead and start putting this thing together, but I'm not going to run the video the entire time I'm doing it. If I find something interesting, I'll stop and make a comment for you. But forget the garage. I've always got 3 projects going on at one time. Okay, and the first thing when you're putting the hitch bars in, that's these pieces. The first 2 pieces, they want to go in. They got to go into the second hole. Make sure that you raise this or it deadheads and you can't get them in because this is ship loose. And if it's down a 1/4 inch, those bars won't go in. So the silver pin's the one they give you. If you go to one of the farm stores, you can get these adapters if you're running a quick hitch, which I've always put on mine, which fits down in the slot easier. And it gives it that little roll when you're trying to hook this thing out. It rolls down in a lot better. So that's just a trick of the trade. It's only a couple bucks. Another pro tip, if you have a collie, she thinks she's helping, but she's really not. But she thinks she is. Okay, there's a hose you have to hook on, which is this hose right here. A couple tips for doing that. First of all, this hose is going to be in your way. So I wire tied it to this hose, which may be temporarily. I got to see how things function. Number 2, this hose is very, very short and tight. It's almost like a steel line now that it's attached. So it'd be nice if they made it 1 inch longer, but you do work with what you got. It was angled wrong, so I could not get it on there no matter what I did. So you have to take, come on, focus. Put this side. There's a fitting back here to the pump, the gear pump down there. You got to loosen it. Then put both on loosely with your fingers, and then tighten this one, then retighten that one. When you tighten this one, it's going to try to clock and it's going to try to rub against this spot here. So make sure you keep a hold of it and keep it from hitting that, because it will rub a hole in your hose. The chute's the most time-consuming part to build because it's all 4 pieces and a bunch of adjustments. Following the instructions for the first couple pieces is probably the best way to go on this side and that side. When putting this bottom piece on, I found it was much easier to put it on with it in this position, and that way I could just put my hand in here and hold it up while I get these first 2 bolts, and that tends to slide down a little bit, but it catches because of geometry. Do not tighten this stuff up. Just put it enough to where the nylon's caught, because when you get it done, say I've got all these bolts in, when you bring it down, you'll want to adjust so you have very little gap here. Because what will happen is if you don't adjust, this will catch, and then you'll have a big gap here where you can't pull it in, so this panel has to slide. So then you can kind of shape this panel where you want it, and then go ahead and, you know, tighten these a little bit more and tighten the other ones a little bit more. And then your bottom one is important to get right. I had to push mine all the way up because you want a smooth transition as possible here. This one's got a little lip going in. A little lip going in is much better than a little lip coming that way, because sometimes if you get a jam in there where it's doing something weird and you're trying to get it out, it'll catch. Something will catch here, like you get a limb that's like this, and then this catches, and then you're taking the thing apart. It's just frustrating. So you want more lip on this side than this side. And these are pretty good on both sides because they're smoothed out. Now they did add this all the way around, which I didn't have on my machine from a couple years ago, and that's a nice addition. They may have had this, I can't remember. I know they didn't have it all the way around, which is a really good addition to it. And when you do, go ahead and, I went ahead and put this on hard once I got it on. It's kind of hard to get on there. You got to kind of squeeze stuff to get it on there, and then I tightened it up and then did the rest of it. All right, handle part next. So I like this where they moved it, the pivot from up here to down here to get more of a CG, because after a while these would, on the old ones, would loosen up. You couldn't, if it was vibrating a lot, this handle would kick under and just turn it off, or, you know, put it in neutral while you're walking away. Feels like there should be a nylon sleeve in here. I'm not super crazy about all this movement in here. I think it's going to rattle a lot, but we'll see when it's running. When you put this on, put it to this side to keep it straighter. If you put it to this side, it's way off. So on the right hand side, if you pull this over one way or the other, you can see where this is to the bolt. Make sure you tighten these up. And these, when you pull these, make sure they feel the same. Because if you get one that's extra tight and the other one's just kind of hanging there, this one will wear in more, and then this one will come loose and this thing will get loose on you. And then after you get them running for a week or so, go back through and adjust these, because they'll wear in right here at these little catches, and they'll start getting loose again. And then eventually it'll fall down, and then this thing starts getting out of whack on you. Make sure you keep these tight, but these are not the most expensive things in the world, so you know, tighten them. Use some common sense when you tighten them, and keep these adjusted, and you'll be good. Because I used to flip my chute up a lot, because I'm in the woods a lot, and I flip it up to get it out of the way so I can get some turning radius. Dudes, I don't know why you have to be so stubborn about getting rid of this, though. This is where all the clogs emanate from, this trying to squeeze in. I hope this dual flywheel takes care of that, because you get a stick crossways in here, and then it starts clogging from there. Then it loses volume of air, so hopefully that'll take care of it. So I'm trusting that you did the right thing here, and you're just not being stubborn on that part. All right, so this is shorter. So remember the wrench I showed you at the beginning? That's what this is for. It fits in the box here. I keep it. If I have to take it off, I can take it off, and I use this side if there's a clog that I can push down and get out by using this. And if not, I flip it over and I use this teeth to push into it and get the clog out coming the other way. So I like the fact that I can get down to that clog area with something to clear it. Although you got to watch when you clear it. If you're putting too much stuff down in it, then it can't kick it back up unless you hit your PTO at full RPM. So the chainsaw mount is awesome. I had one I bought aftermarket on my other one. If you put it on this side, your chainsaw will interfere with what's going on here. And if you get your chainsaw on when you're trying to hook up your PTO pump or PTO shaft, it kind of screws you up. So put it on this side. Something's changed from this model from the last model, because my saw used to fit that way. So it doesn't. I used to like it because the body was sticking in, so the body has to stick out, because it obviously is interfering right here somewhere, and that won't come up any farther. Not super crazy about that, but as long as I'm not stupid when I'm using it, I'm fine. The other problem with when you put it on this side, if you need it for a limb back air, that's a Y in the limb, and you need to cut it off, you're walking through your chip stream to grab your chainsaw. So that's just my points. Since I'm using a quick hitch, I didn't have to cut my PTO shaft, which is awesome. And while I'm greasing it up, it's best to go ahead and grease the bearings. There's one there, there's one there. And people complain before, I've heard, that you can't get to this one underneath here. Yeah, they're right, because you got to take this loose and flip this up, and you can get right to it under there. And then when you're all done, you can put your 15/16 wrench, your blade set tool, your shear bolts and everything right back in here, and you'll be good to go. I'm going to fill it up with oil, and then I'll be running it. I'm not going to tell people how to run it. That's not my job. Just giving you hints on what I saw compared to the other one.